Hi, my name is Seth and welcome back for another video. In this video we are going to create the wheel, which is one of the hardest parts of this course. In this video we will learn how to use the spline very easily. That's about 2D sketching, and for the 3D features we will learn how to avoid problems using the combine and to avoid errors and bad intersections while using 3D features. So let's begin by creating a new file and let's select the part design. The first thing that we are going to do is to build the form of the wheel, I mean the external form of the wheel. So to get that form we need the revolve. So let's begin sketching on any plane here. I prefer the front plane. Click on sketch and there you go. The sketching is not very hard, so see you after sketching and dimensioning. And that's it about the sketching. Now we can use our feature. So let's go to features, revolve boss, click on no, and then the axis of revolution is this one. And for the thickness here, I want 3 millimeters. Normally for the boss revolve we don't have the thickness, but this time we have the thin feature because our form is not closed. That's why I used an open form to use the thin feature on the revolved boss. And that's it. Click on OK. And this is the external form of the wheel. Now let's add a fillet. And for the fillet selection, I will select the whole revolve. That's it. And for the radius here, I will use 1 millimeter. Then click OK. Now let's change the view again to the front plane. And let's begin sketching on this front plane. But here on the sketching, make sure you begin your sketching on this side, which has a little edges here as you can see, and not the other side which has the big edges. So make sure you have this side on the left, and let's go. So on this sketch we will use the spline and we will see how to deal with it. So first let's begin by creating a center line, And before adding the spline or the splines, let's add some normal lines. There you go. Always make sure you have the 90 degree, which means you have a vertical line. The distance here is 70. That's good. And the distance here between this point and the center line should be 36.25. That's good. Let's zoom in. Here I need a big line. Or before adding any line, I'll choose the distance between this line and this one to be 132. That's it. Now let's add a big line and make sure you have 0 degrees, which means you have an horizontal line. I'm sorry, I made a mistake about dimensioning, so here we just have 95.5. And the dimension of this big line is the 132 that I said before. That's it. So let's forget about these two lines and let's zoom in on these edges. And here I would select a point. If you remember, we have a thickness of 3 millimeters, so I'm going to choose the distance between these 2 points to be less than 3 millimeters to avoid any space between the external form of the wheel and the form of the revolve that we are creating right now. So I'll choose 2.5, which is less than 3, and the distance between this point and this one, let's go back. The distance between this point and this one should be 43.5. And that's it. Here let's complete our form and let's make lines to be parallel to these edges. And let's finish until the last point. Now the point is not any longer on this side here, so we change the dimension between the point and this line, and as you can see it is still 2.5, but it's not enough because I want the distance between this point and this one also to be less than 3, so let's make it 2.5. That's it. Here I want this line and this one to be parallel, so click on it. That's good. Let's check the other dimensions. Here we have 2.7. That's okay. And here we have 2.48. That's great. Now let's add the last point before using the spline, so let's put it somewhere here. And the distance between this point and the center line is 75. And the distance between this point and this one should be 143. Or let's make it 140. That's perfect. Now let's use the spline, which is this one, and the first spline should be on this side, and let's click on this point and this one. Now click on escape to get the form of the spline. Always click escape to finish the spline. So let's do the same thing here. So I'm going to select this point. That's good. Second point is this one, and the third point is this one. As you can see, the spline is not finished, so I need to click on escape, and that's it. Here let's go to smart dimensioning, then click on your spline, and as you can see we have some vectors here on the 3 points. So let's go back, click again on your smart dimension, click on the spline, and then click on the vector. And here you have the length of the first vector, and let's make it 198. That's good. Here I want the angle between this vector and this line to be 0. Perfect. Let's do the same thing on this side. So click on the spline, click on the vector, and the length here is 47. Now the angle between this line and this one is 13.7. Good. Now let's go to the second spline and make sure you click on Smart Dimension, click on the line, and if you zoom in, you can see that the vector is just over here. So click on the vector and they will give you the length of this point. So the length here is 265. And here the angle between this vector, if you zoom in, there you go, the angle between this vector and this line here should be 18.5. And let's reverse the sense of the dimension. Let's do the same thing on this point. So click on the spline, click on the vector, and the length here is 140, and the angle between this line and this one should be 90 to make it horizontal. This is how we work on the spline. So now let's exit the sketch and let's use the boss revolve to get the form of the wheel. Now click on the revolve boss, the axis of revolution is this one, and then click OK. Perfect. Let's see how it goes. That's good. Let's go back and select the front plane again. Here we need to create the holes of the wheel. But to create the hole, we are not going to use the cut revolve or any cut extrude. What we are going to use is the boss revolve. Okay, and after using the boss revolve and getting the form, we will need to use the combine. So you would ask why we are doing all of that. It's because you will have a lot of problems if you use the cut revolve. So I did that before and I had a lot of problems with a lot of things. So as you can see here on the video, the last cut extrude was really bad and I didn't know how to deal with it. It's a big problem because I used the wrong features to get the form that I need. So in order to avoid any problem, the combine is the solution for any problem. So here let's get first the form of the revolved base that we are going to subtract from the wheel, and after that we will see how to use the combine. So let's go and let's create the sketch. And that's all for the feature, so let's exit the sketch and let's use the boss revolve. The axis of revolution is this one, and then click OK. Now if we go for a circular pattern, we will get no problem, but we still have another problem that we will see in a while. So let's begin by the circular pattern. The feature to select is this revolve. The direction, let's select any circle here. The number of instances is 4 and then click OK. As you can see, there is no problem. But if we go to insert features, here you can see that the combine is not available, so we can't subtract these revolves from the wheel. So what we are going to do, let's go back to these two last revolves and let's deselect the merge result here on the direction. Click OK. As you can see, the circular pattern is not available anymore, so let's delete it. Let's go to the first revolve as well and let's deselect the merge result. Why we have this problem? Because we have two different revolves that are intersected together. So to avoid all these problems, deselect the merge result and then you can use the combine. So if you go back to insert features, you can see that the combine is available. So the merge result is always the problem for the combine. But now we have a problem on the circular pattern. So let's go to the circular pattern. If we select this revolve, and for the direction, if we select any circle here, if we click OK, you can see that there is an error. So only merging features may be patterned. If appropriate, make a pattern of bodies instead. And that's exactly what we are going to do. So deselect the features and faces and let's go for bodies. And for the body here, let's select this revolve. And then if we click OK, and finally we got the circular pattern and the combine ready to use. So let's go to combine, insert features, combine, and the main body is this one. For the bodies to combine, I'll select each one of these and make sure you click on subtract, then click OK, and finally we get the form of the whole. Now let's go for the final cut extrude, which will give the aesthetic form or the beautiful form of the wheel. So I'm going to create a plane here, and to create this plane I need another plane on the middle. So here we need two planes. The first one should be on the middle of the wheel and the second one should be distanced from the first plane with 180 millimeters. So let's begin by creating the first plane. Zoom in. For the first reference, I'm going to select this face. That's good. And for the second reference, I'll select this face. And as you can see, they give me automatically the mid plane, and then click OK. Now we need the second plane, and the distance between these two planes is 180 millimeters. And let's flip the offset, then click OK. Perfect. Now let's hide the first plane because we don't need it anymore, and let's select this plane to go for the sketch. Change the view to this one and let's begin sketching. Here we need some other splines to get the beautiful form of the wheel, so let's go. First let's build some center lines. The first one should be vertical. Click escape and let's go for the second one, which will be a bit inclined, and the angle between these two center lines is 22.5. Sorry, 22.5. That's it. Here we need a line. The distance between this line and the last line should be 283.5. That's good. And this line is about 18.2. Perfect. Let's go for a point on this center line, and the distance between this point and the origin is 75. Perfect. Here let's use the spline. So click on spline. The first point is this one and second point is this one. Click escape. Now let's go for the dimensioning as we did on the last spline. Here you can see the vector. Click on it and it will give you the length of this point, which should be 297. The angle between this vector and this line is 50.8, and let's reverse the sense of the angle. Then click OK. Let's do the same thing on this side. Click on the vector. The length here should be 125, or let's make it 24, 26. Good. And the angle between this vector and this center line is 90. Perfect. Now let's go on the other side and let's create a line. Make sure it is on this yellow axis. The dimension here is, let's go back and let's zoom in. The dimension here is 70.25. Now let's add a point on this center line as we did before, and the distance between this point and this line, go back, and the distance between this line and this point is 140 tray, and then the distance between this point and this one is 287. Perfect. Now let's go for spline between this point and this one. Click escape. Then let's go for the smart dimensioning. Click on the first vector and let's give it 320. Okay. Now let's change the angle between this line and this one, and let's make it 22.5. Let's do the same thing on this side. So click on the vector, zoom in to see it. There you go. And here on the length we need 42. And the angle between this line and this one should be 90. Perfect. Now let's use the mirror to get the same entities using these center lines. So click on the mirror entities, click on this line and this one, and let's mirror about this center line. Let's do the same thing on the other side. So click on this spline and this line, and let's mirror about this center line. Then click OK. And here we got the form of the sketch that will be used on the last cut extrude. So exit the sketch, and here if we click on the cut extrude, you can see that we have the feature scope here. The feature scope means that the cut extrude will be applied only on the features or only on the bodies that you select. So I'm going to select only this combine here, and let's change the depth here to 140. Click on the draft here and let's make it 2.5 degrees to get a good form, and then reverse the direction of the cut. Now if we click OK, you can see that the cut is only applied on the combine that we selected, and here we don't have any problem. Now let's hide this plane because we don't need it anymore. Let's add some fillets here. I'm going to select this edge, this one, this one, and this one, and let's go for a fillet with 4 millimeters in the radius. Click OK. That's good. Let's add some other fillets, and the first fillet should be here. I'm going to select also these edges, and let's click on fillet. Let's make it a 1mm radius fillet. Click OK. That's good. And here let's use the circular pattern to get this extruded cut around the wheel. So click on circular pattern, delete the fillet and click on the cut extrude and the second fillet. The number of instances is 8, and for the direction I'll select any circle here and then click OK. And finally we got the form, the very beautiful form of the wheel. It's so beautiful, I love it. And that's all about this video, and I hope that now you can deal with the splines and with the combines, which is a very interesting feature to use. So that's all for this video, and see you on the next one, and peace out.